Hi, we are in Dumpling School, episode 12. So today, our our episode is going to be about red flags and green flags. And one of our lovely viewers and one of our ladies and noble character asked a question, and I was like, "Ooh, that would make a really great episode." So just a reminder, if you guys or if you girls have any good questions, I will be happy to actually turn it into an episode. Um, and sometimes these actually turn into a lot more fun and a lot more, what is it called? A lot more fun and inviting, especially if I have a lot more interactions. So, first of all, I want to thank you to my live audience for joining today. I truly appreciate you guys. And also, a reminder, a lot of the stuff that I have is from Chase Joseph's, what is it called? Content. So, one of the places we could do is school, skool.com/cfjoseph. And I will put the link in the description below. That way you could go there and see a lot of videos regarding typology, personality, um, and also our news section on the archetypes. And today we will be having some of those archetypes in there. Um, Trying to think is like I can't remember names. I didn't write it down, but that's okay. I will reference it. But anyway, today's actual question was what to look as red flags and green flags in a guy that you're dating. So some of these flags are ones that are easily enough to be, you can see it as a positive, negative. So I just kind of tried to keep everything into a more of a green flag category, even though like the negative is the red flag. And then there's pieces of it I will actually describe out as the red flag goes on. So, anyway, the short answer for basically looking for the right guy and trying to find the right green flags and kind of lack of these will actually show some red flags is basically taking the concepts from King, Warrior, Magician, and Lover. It's a book, and I think the name of the not the name of the book, that the author is Robert Moore. I cannot remember the name right now. I didn't write it down. Sorry about that. Um, but honestly, a man doesn't have to be perfect in these, but should be showing growth in each category. So men are supposed to not be, what is it called? Specific in each, but he should have be having to grow in each. One of them will be his specialization, but he should be growing in all of them. Okay, let me see here. Somebody just gave me the name. Yay! Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette. They wrote a book called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. And so a guy having proof of all of these is actually what you're truly looking for, as this is the guy I should be with. So I will go into the generalization here first. And this is, I think there's a thing on YouTube that actually kind of goes into this. And it looks like one of my guests has dropped for a little bit. It's okay. Oh, she's back. Okay, yay. Okay, and so one of the things that you can look at is, first of all, he should have some part of king. So this is him having some proof of financial stability. He doesn't have to make, six figures, seven figures, whatever the new need is. Um, but he should be able to provide. One of the people asked me about this. He should provide for a house of three. That means he needs to be able to provide for himself, you, and your oncoming child, because hopefully in a year or two of our being together, you have children. So he should be able to show that he is financially stable in that aspect. This doesn't mean perfect. This doesn't mean he's rich. It doesn't mean wealthy, but he should be able to support you. The next thing is under warrior. He should be showing some sort of health and discipline. So, discipline might be harder to see, but to me, health is health. So, in the same way that men judge health by a woman's body, we can judge a little bit of a man's body. Does he take care of himself? Does he fit? Is he actually uh, say no to things he shouldn't have and say yes to the things he should have? The next one, magician, is his knowledgeableness. Um, and I realize that, he should be able to read and teach and things like that. I will go into that a little bit more later. And then the fourth one is lover. He should have friends and be able to relax. And that is just a generalization at this point. So, again, that's the short answer. King, warrior, magician, lover. He should have some growth in each. So, I am going to break these down into things that people have defined red flags, because I know that us women just kind of like, oh, what is this? Sometimes it's not as apparent. And sometimes asking questions may not actually be easily answered, because I have dated a false king before. He seemed like he had money. He had his own car. He had an apartment, but quite honestly, later on, I found out it was all his dad's money. It wasn't his at all. So, anyway, green flags. The first thing under green flags is looking at him having a bright future. So, asking about what he does at work, how he works, his past history of work. This lets us know if he actually, he may not be able, he might be in a situation, but if he has a good work ethic, then it means that when he has a job, he actually puts the effort to it. Also, if he has a work history, ask him what he's done before, stuff like that. When a guy loses a job, there should be a time where he's like, okay, yeah, I need to mope for a little bit, but a guy that is worth it will go get a job. It may not be his dream job, and while he has that job, he will be actually searching for a better job. So basically, we are looking for something in what he says to show that he will actually do his best to try to stay employed, and that he would actually basically have a history of good employment. Yeah, and that goes into the part of he needs to be able to make enough to care and the first baby without you working. Now, there are situations, I understand, but we're just looking at a good green flag. Can he actually provide for you and you stay home and take care of the baby for a year? That would be a good future for him. There are situations. I know several men on the Eager Hacker server that they are in school. They are doing something to further themselves in that career. So let's say you have somebody that is going through the school to be a doctor. Well, once he finishes the doctorship, he is going to have a bright future. He is, and he may have his work ethic and work history is actually part of his schooling stuff. Does he actually be attentive to his schooling? Does he actually put effort into his schooling? Does he actually pursue schooling like his job? So, even if he's not currently working, does he have a bright future? And then those that have actually left schooling or in a trade, yeah, you could actually see that in their future. One of the things I liked about my husband is he was basically, if I need money, I know how to make it, and I can get a stable job. and he could keep it. And while he is in that job, he actually, keeps an eye out for opportunities, and he goes forward, and that has been wonderful. So, yeah, look at his future. Look if he can uh, basically support you. One of the things to look at is like, okay, does he have his own car? Um, can he afford a apartment? A one bedroom apartment on his own? Doesn't have. He may have roommates, but he doesn't have to have roommates. Make it shouldn't be a financial strain for him to be able to have an apartment on his own. And if he has those two and a stable job, most of the time, this means that he could take care of you. It's just a little extra expense to have a second person that needs some food, clothing, and shelter. This actually helps. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The next one is about his health. Now, this one doesn't have to be perfect. I see the humorous complaints about girls wanting to date a 5'6" tall man or something like that. Okay, packages are like wrapping paper. They're great. A guy doesn't have to be physically perfect, okay? But he should be taking care of his health. This means he is doing some sort of fitness. Maybe he walks, maybe he runs, maybe he goes to the gym. He is doing something to improve his physical care of his life. Um, if somebody is busy most of the day and focusing on that king thing, focusing on their work history, they may not have as much, but hopefully they take an hour walk each day. And also, this goes into food as well, because several reasons. Some of this shows self discipline, how he exercises, what he says yes to, what he says no to starts showing self discipline. So if he's cramming down junk food and not exercising at all, it shows a lack of self discipline. We're not talking vacation time, we are talking his normal routine. So this is one of those areas of him taking care of himself. And a couple of reasons it's important. One is self care, and not valuing himself will also equal not valuing others as much, or having a hard time understanding value of others. So, let's say you come to the house and you're like, okay, cool, I'm going to be a wife. I'm going to make you home cooked meals. If he's not wanting to eat healthy food and you're wanting to eat healthy food, he may discount you actually eating healthy and feeding the kids healthy. So, yes, there is a certain amount of self value and finding value in actually being healthy. Also, dressing appropriately for the occasion. And I guess this is like, he doesn't have to be perfect, especially if some of the women are mother archetype and just really want to do things like iron clothes and make sure everything's wonderful for him. You can just latch on to caring for a guy. But if you're going on a date with them, get a little bit idea of how his dress. Is his clothes frayed and falling apart? Does he have a problem with this? Does he have a problem with this? Like I said with above, it doesn't have to be perfect, but showing effort. And the opposite is also true. If he is being obsessive with his status symbols, you may need to live with a guy that's obsessive with status symbols. And you may end up being a status symbol for him. So just kind of look at how he dresses, what he's trying to show, and getting a little bit of observation from that. Also, this one of what is appropriate, not appropriate, stuff like that. Yeah, definitely take it to us other women as to get different perspective, because we may be seeing something that you guys may not. or you girls may not. Um, so yeah, if he's dressed appropriate, most guys will dress up for a date. But if you're actually going to a nice place and he comes in with flip flops and ratted jeans, that might actually show something that you're not that you're not uh, that you may not want in the future. So that would be another green flag, red flag. Um, I'll move on to principles. This one I actually ended up writing a lot about. He should have principles, and that should show. So, one of the first principles that I grabbed was that the conversation has a certain amount of reciprocalness. This means some of the talking and the listening have balance. He should be attentive and interactive, which, yes, it goes for both implosive men and explosive men. They both should be attentive and interactive. Now, why should this be that way? So, let's say he is asking all the questions. So, he's asked you 100 questions, and when you try to ask them back, he provides zero details about himself. This could be a red flag of profiling. So, that could actually be a danger that, especially on a blind date or let's say one of those that you chose from an internet dating site, um, if if he is just completely asking the questions and not giving any of his own thing, that could actually be a dangerous red flag. But you should, if he asks you, let's say, what type of ice cream you like, and he does not provide any answer back, and you ask about it, and he's like, oh, I don't know. That could start being problematic. So let's see. Another one is kind of the opposite direction. So let's say you get somebody who's extremely talkative. He talks and talks and talks and talks, shares everything about himself, and is not asking anything about you. This actually kind of points to him being somebody that is not listening and not caring to understand. And it will be difficult to provide solutions down in the future. So let's say you do end up with this guy, and it becomes all about him and none about you. And I will share a silly example with this. My husband and I went to a beach in the wintertime. So this is, it was nice out and we could wade in the water, we could swim. It wasn't that cold, but the temperature outside was nice and chill. It was in the winter, and it was a enjoyable beach trip to an extent. And later on, he's like, oh yeah, we need to go back in the summer. We're going to do this and this and this and this. And he saw the look on my face. So this is where he actually paid attention. And I mean, like, if he wanted to move there because he had a job offer that was nice, that's cool. But he was not taking into consideration that I don't like the heat. And I would not want to be there in the summer. I would not want to be there when the temperature is extremely hot and humid. And so, previously he was dreaming and not listening, but once he started listening, he's able to provide a better solution. So you can end up, so if he is actually doing all the sharing, that means he's not actually listening to you at all. Or doesn't really even care what your opinion is or your thoughts or your feelings on things. It will make him really hard to express to in the future, and really hard to give what you have inside. A next red flag is looking to see if people talk about others behind their backs. So there's a certain amount of sharing and a little bit of gossip that's not harmful. But if they start talking about others behind their backs all the time, it can be very problematic. And it basically shows a little bit of principles that are warped. And then the next one is somebody that categorizes only. I know that we at, doing our typology like to find out everybody's typed, our special letters that, that we are. And if you find somebody that's all they care about, they're actually not caring about you. So if you find somebody on the Eager Hacker server, yeah, look at him. He needs to be looking at you deeper than just their letters. Because, finding out that you're like a ESFP or ENFPs, all fun and good, and this person is this archetype and this person is this archetype, that's actually cool. But are you actually listening to the person? Are you actually getting to know them, not just putting them in the box of, okay, she's this letter, she'll work. And I'm going to caution the girls on this of doing that as well. We don't need to be doing that either. Because we could put all of our hopes in getting our golden pair or our natural pair or our something pair, but not really focus on, is this person the deeper part of that person? So yeah, depth is very important. Let's see. Okay, this is a half statement. I'm going to have to actually read this for a second. Okay, this is kind of under the magician. Somebody that is willing to gather information for decisions. So whether they are UD or SD, they should still be gathering information for their decision making. And when they gather information, it's not just gathering information from their wife. So it's not just gathering our perception or our view, our judgment views. They also need to be gathering information from other sources and be willing to gather information from other sources. This means like, I think there's a old hypocrisy video about like, oh, I read it in one book. Well, yeah, have you read it in 2 books or 3 books? Have you actually looked some other sources? They should be gathering information from multiple sources before making a decision. Now, some decisions will be like, okay, do you want a steak or do you want a chicken? That's a little bit lesser decision. But when they're actually trying to make an important decision, yes, they should be gathering information from multiple sources and willing to do so. And this also means maybe they should talk to your friends or your dad or somebody to get a better idea of what you're like. Yeah, this is socializing with your future spouse's parents. So yeah, that's actually a way to gather information. Another one that kind of goes along is we will not, all of us, we will not agree with everybody. We will have opinions. But can they disagree gracefully? When they hit a topic that they do not agree, because they may not agree with you, they may not agree with he may not agree with his parents, he may not agree with your parents, he may not agree with his best friend. Can they disagree gracefully? This will actually help. So, actually, I've gotten to listen to a handful of interesting thing. Ooh, yeah, I will add that in there. Thank you. So I've actually watched a handful of conversations, and there's people that like they're having a heated discussion on a topic, and it's an important topic, and they disagree, but they sit there and they discuss this as two very well developed men. They may have different points of view, but they discuss the details and this definition and how this works. And it's actually quite beautiful when two guys disagree gracefully and they have a um, nice, good discussion on things. And so the next one we actually talked about a little bit in our channels, and that is the importance of relationship with parents. And this is not necessarily they have a good relationship, but some of that will actually come out. And I will actually explain this a little bit more fully. And that actually goes with one of my audience's points here. Excuse me. Wait a minute, where'd that point go? Ah, I thought I put it in here. Okay, give me a second. Sorry, double checking my other set of notes here because it was beautifully said. And I was like, I want to use that. Okay. Okay, a guy that has a father who's abusive to his mother, either verbally, physically, or some subtle form, and is okay with it. So you do need to be meeting his parents. You do need to be seeing what his relationship with his parents are. And try, if you see anything that seems like subtle abuse, whether the father to the mother or the guy you're dating with either parent, that could be a red flag for an issue. That is, it might just be he's scared or weak, or maybe he's just okay with doing that. The problem is when he is okay with doing that or accepting of that type of behavior, that will potentially come into the relationship with you. And there was a guy that I know that I actually saw this happen. He got upset with his mom, and when his mom wasn't looking, he went up and kicked her pet dog. This is also abuse with animals, also a really heavy red flag. He was abusing his mom's dog, her favorite one, in order to get back with her, but he wouldn't do it to her face. He did it in secret. That actually shows somebody that is potentially abusive. Yes, when I saw it, I was upset. And that's the same thing. If you happen to notice something that they are abusive with their mom or dad, or their dad is abusive with the mom and the mom is abusive with the dad, they may bring something of that in the relationship. And that would be a red flag of accepting abuse or promoting abuse. So, yeah, and that is actually or even abuse to animals, because, imagine that, oh yeah, that was my first thought when I was watching the Obsession movie. I was like, oh no, somebody killed the cat? No. Yeah, there's signs of abuse there. So if they are able to, even if they don't agree with their parents, or they have something, there's, the whole, like, they disagree badly, at least if they're able to honor their family in some way, that's being respectful when they're talking to them, stuff like that. That is one of those things of like, oh, okay, this is good. He's able to honor his parents, even if they disagree on how something should be. Somebody also brought up, if he doesn't show interest in meeting your parent or introducing you to his parents. If he's not willing to introduce you to his parents, that is possibly hiding some relationship issues. And if he has no interest in meeting yours, that is also very problematic. Um, it's almost like they don't, even if, they don't really like each other, at least being introduced is showing some type of amicability. I guess that's the right word. Amicability. Yeah. Um, they're willing to say hi and get to know somebody, whether or not they like them or not. Um, and they may not like the they may not like the person very much, but at least if they're willing to meet, that actually shows something. That shows a willing to actually be a part of the family. And previously in old times, the whole concept with marriage was actually merging two families in a sense. Um, yes, one flesh, one household, but you actually sometimes the wife would move in with the husband under the husband's household, and that husband would be inheriting the business that the father did. And so when us women marry into a man, we are actually marrying also into our in laws. So we do need to be meeting our in laws. We do need to be seeing the structure. And I still feel that goes even if the future husband is not going to live and have that inheritance of the property or something like that. But at least if you're doing that, you're going to be spending Christmases or family gatherings together, and that actually connection should be there during that. Um, let's see the other point I saw over here. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I actually caught all those points. Good. Um, let's see. And the other under principles I have is being accountable. Um, so it is actually good for men to be accountable to each other. Um, are they accountable to somebody? I know our Ego Hackers group in the guys in the Ego Hackers group in Idaho, they actually have a group of men, and they actually hold each other accountable for different things. I don't know the details. I just know that it exists. They've talked about and getting together and discussing things. So yeah, there is some type of accountability group. It's a group of guys. They're being friends, but they're also holding each other accountable for what they're doing, what they're showing. Yeah, it's actually good for men to do that. And so, are they holding each other accountable? Are they being accountable? Let's say he does certain things and he's like, okay, I am not doing this thing. Is he actually going to stay not doing that thing? So men should be accountable, and a man showing that they're accountable is actually a good green flag. Um, somebody else brought up that no male friends. So a guy, I get that sometimes there's a situation. I know personally that there's a situation where one guy has basically lost a bunch of friends during the coronavirus time. That happens. But it's a red flag if the guy has zero male friends. That kind of goes into that accountability thing. Um, but also, it basically shows a guy in isolation if he doesn't have friends. And as us women actually share perceptions, men need to talk to other men and also get other pieces there. I know that there's been times where my husband was frustrated with something at work. I made an arrangement for him to talk to one of his friends, like, hey, cool, let's go to so and so's house, we'll play cards. And the other friend, which is a guy, was able to talk to him man to man about the problems with work. And basically, everything kind of got situated out, and he decided what to do. There is only so much a wife can encourage, and we really need our men to have men friends. They need some time to go hang out. So, they need guys' time. Um, and they should be able to talk with those friends because that's where the real iron sharpens iron part takes place. Men need male friends. Or, yeah, men need men friends. Let's see. Okay, that also counts there. Okay, the next part I am going towards, I don't have my notes on the details on this, but the next part I'm actually going toward is sex. Um, he needs to be willing to wait till marriage. Wait till he chooses to have commitment. He should not be pushing sex before commitment. And if he has a weird urgency toward it, that is a huge red flag. Um, so, yes, sex, commitment, those two go together. And yeah, the latest Tacked Off video had a really awesome quote that I'm not going to repeat here. I don't know how I want to do rating on here. I don't know how I don't want to mess it up, but I'm going to give the opposite one. Don't have sex unless you're willing to be pregnant and committed to the guy you're having sex to. This is one of those, just say no unless you're willing to be pregnant. It will solve a ton of problems. That means there's no accidental pregnancies. It means that if you're committed to the guy, he is willing to be committed to you in that sense and take care of you and take care of the resulting baby. I have heard many tales of different birth controls that failed. So honestly, if and plus, you know, okay, I'm going to leave all those jokes, try to flush those out of my head. Okay. So quite sorry. Okay, more dirty jokes in my head. If you actually are willing to be pregnant with a guy, that is, the thing. Just hold off until you're willing to be pregnant. If all women did this, the need of abortion, or not need of abortion, the girls getting abortions would be very small. And it also provides parents for the babies, and actually the need of contraception would be fairly small too. Yeah, even a guy that's had a vasectomy can technically still get a girl pregnant. Yes, that happens. Also, girls that have had tubes tied have had miraculously babies. So, yeah, all the contraception stuff, it's a great idea. Or maybe not so great idea, but it doesn't work. So, yeah, keep your legs together unless you're willing to be pregnant. Just assume that anytime you're having sex, you're going to get pregnant. It can happen. Also, if a guy is buying you a super expensive meal on the date, that could technically mean that he is expecting sex on that first date. So that is a potential thing that he is going to push sex. So yes, yeah, it's a red flag for guys to really push sex. So it makes you very vulnerable to being placed into the sex only or pump and dump type category depending on his thoughts and beliefs. I know us over at the Ego Hackers channel the men are trying to be better men and not do the pump and dump, not do the other crazy stuff. So yeah, it's one of those things where yeah, guys shouldn't be pushing that. And I know in the typology, this is the next one I'm going to go to. I know in the typology there's a whole leader versus follower piece that I don't have a lot of details on. but you actually want the guy to be able to be a leader. Um, they may need to shift to a side of their mind to do so, but there's a part in the Bible where it says basically a man is the leader and the priest of his household, or basically the king and priest of his household. Um, whether he is SD, whether he is USD, he is still a leader of the household. Um, and him being a leader of the household means that when something goes on, he is not just jumping on the bandwagon of it. He is not going to just say, yes, wife, because you said so. He is going to actually contemplate it and actually say, oh, wait a minute, I don't like this. We're going to do something different. And this is him basically leading the household. Um, I know a little while ago we had, all the coronavirus stuff, and there was a bunch of people that as soon as they were like offered a vaccine, they jumped on it like crazy. Some men were like, I don't think so. Let me research that. That is him not being a follower. I even told a mom about this with her kid. She's trying to decide whether her kid needs to be in public school or homeschool, and she was feeling very sketchy about the school he's going to be going in. And I told him, okay, is your son a leader or a follower? She's like, oh, he's a follower. I'm like, don't send him to public school until he's a leader. Homeschool him and train him to be a leader. This means he's not going to follow the crowds. When kids say, hey, would you like to go do drugs? He will say, no, thank you. He may not have the personality to, you know, he may not have that aggressive personality to lead, but he could at least say, no, I don't want to do that. Or he won't have that peer pressure when it's time. And we don't want our men to be completely peer pressured into stuff. That could be problematic. We don't want them to be part of that mob mentality of, okay, everybody's doing it, so I'm going to do it too. Um, we want men that are actually leaders of the household. Um, Also, a bit of loyalty. If he has something he is standing up for, um, it's like we had our some falling outs over the last couple years of on eco hackers. Yeah, you could go read the details later. Um, but a lot of people are like, no, I'm going to be loyal to here. I am going to actually research and see what's going on, and I'm going to stay here. Um, Loyalty can be him standing for what he wants to stand for. And that goes into my last point is basically amicable beliefs. So, did I actually put more information on this? No, I didn't. Okay, cool. I'll just wing it on this one. Um, your ideally, your belief structure between you and your husband should be the same. So if he is leader of the house, and so if he is Christian, you should also be applicable to be for a Christian. If he's Muslim, same with Muslim. If he is Hindu, he should probably be Hindu, or you should probably, you and him should be similar religions. Now, there are cases where he's like, okay, I don't necessarily care if you are an opposite belief, and that is okay too. This is where I say amicable. That means your belief and his belief can mesh together. And it can be very, very important. It could be important on how he wants to run the household. It can be important on how you are going to do things. That affects principles. That affects how your children are raised. Um, you know, uh, I have seen people upset over just slight religious differences, and too, it's sad. But you should be able to move as one when it comes to belief. Um, and Yeah, you can be separate beliefs. Let's say he is Christian and he's cool with his wife being a atheist or a agnostic, and that's okay. But as long as you can move together, that way, if he chooses, oh, I want to get the children baptized, you'll be like, oh, okay, that's cool. I don't care. Um, that's why I say amicable. On the being able to be on the same page, able to follow whatever he wants to do religiously, and that kind of goes with habits too. Uh, being being okay with his habits versus other guys' habits. Um, there are, and I guess I'll use this. I'll use smoking and drinking. There are men that are very against smoking and drinking. Um, there are men that's very pro smoking and drinking. And if it's one of those things where he's like, he wants to actually smoke a cigar and have a couple shots of whiskey, um, and that is a habit of his, being with a woman that would be like, oh no, that is horribly wrong. Can never stand for it. Um, that's going to end up with problems down the road. So some of those type of principle habits regarding health, regarding belief, regarding principles, those actually should be able to move together on the same page. So yeah, kind of find out some of these pieces as you're actually getting to know each other. Um, I realize that we actually have a little bit differences on how we actually communicate and start getting to know each other and start talking, but find out some of this stuff, some of these red flags, some of these green flags. Um, find out how they actually work, how they actually take care of things. Oh yeah, I see another note here. Um, also get an idea of the level of family drama. This is not a horrible thing, but it's something you would need to live with. So if his family is very, very high drama and you don't like it, you may need to know that ahead of time. Um, if your family is high drama, not necessarily you, but your family is high drama, he may need to know that ahead of time. So, um, because honestly, the two families will actually have some time they spend with each other, especially when it comes down to having kids and kids want to visit grandma and grandpa. And yeah, there's possibly some things you need to um, double check what actually works for you and him. So yeah, some of these are really huge red flags, green flags. Some of these are a lot lesser. But go ahead and take note of a lot of the stuff. See what actually works as you're dating, or maybe not dating is the right word. I don't know. Getting to know each other, conversations, spending time with each other, getting to know if this is the right man for you. Um, Also, one other thing I'm going to suggest, let the people you know, the people he knows, uh, get their input as well. Because, yeah, if you have a handful of girlfriends or even slight girlfriends, like, just like the handful of girls on Ladies Noble Character, you go on a date, share some of that. You may come up with new questions to ask him. Um, you may come up with somebody goes, "Ooh, no, no, that guy is showing some huge red flags here," and you're like, "Oh, okay, I didn't see it." Talk to people. Go on a date. Talk to him. Talk to people. Also, talk to your parents, especially if you're in a good relationship with your mom or your dad. Talk to them about your experience on the date and let them help vet this guy. And hopefully, he is doing the same thing as he's talking to his parents, he's talking to his friends about you, and finding out if the two of you will actually work well together. So, um, that is actually the end of my list. I'm going to give it a couple seconds just in case anybody decides to type. So, I think that's all. Uh, Again, Dumpling School, episode 12. Have a wonderful, beautiful day.